Hello vinyl community, I'm back again, this time for a long overdue vinyl spins, and this one the driver was for one particular reason, but I'm going to add on a couple other things, but really the motivation for doing this one is Music Matters. And Music Matters, they've been on a bit of a hiatus and everybody was wondering, oh, are they going to release more stuff? And of course they sent out a note just recently, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, saying, hey, we're going to release 13 more titles and then that's it, which is kind of sad. I really wish they could keep on going, but you know, the reality is you know, they were never in it for the profit, and you know, it's hard to, you know, stay in the black with a company like that, and I'm really thankful for what they've done and the fact that they're going to give us 13 more titles. Well, the first 2 of the 13 were dropped, and the first one I got to show you is the Magnificent Thad Jones. This was previously released on 45 RPM through Music Matters, but this is now available in 33 1/3. So if you didn't get the 45 RPM set, go for this guy. I know they appear to be a bit pricey, but trust me, you are getting a quality product here. I don't work for them, but I gotta say, you know, you're not gonna find an original like this in this condition. And originals, if you do find of this title, even good, are gonna go for more than 40 bucks. So these last 13, they say are, you know, the cream of the crop of what's left, and I have to agree. I mean, here I'm showing you the titles. You know, it's great stuff. Now, Thad Jones, if you're not aware, he's the middle brother of 3, and everybody knows the younger brother, which is Elvin Jones, of the infamous John Coltrane Quartet and Quartet, yeah. But you know, his eldest brother was Hank Jones, and Hank Jones was just a fantastic pianist. He played on Something Else with Cannonball Adderley, just to name one of the highlights, but this is just fantastic. So this was his second release on Blue Note, and of course Music Matters, you get the fantastic cover. Everything is high gloss, it's on a Stoughton jacket, it's pressed at RTI, done by Kevin Gray, of course, and they're pretty faithful. So this, of course, the time it was coming out was on a Lexington. So you know, I can't say enough. I mean, definitely try and sample this online, and you know, the stuff they've been issuing is just fantastic. Now, the other one is a personal favorite of mine. This is also released on 45 RPM, but this is Lee Morgan's Search for the New Land, and this is just fantastic. This is one of my favorite Lee Morgan works. This shows a little more maturity and thought. I love young Lee Morgan. He is by far my favorite trumpeter, so I'm a little bit biased here. But it's worth it for the title track alone, and just look at this lineup. I mean, look at all these guys. You got Wayne Shorter, Grant Green, Herbie Hancock, Reginald Workman, and Billy Higgins. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And you know, Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock, of course, we're going to go off and start working with Miles Davis. Lee even commented for this album that, you know, that he was taking some of Miles's influence and slowing down some of his solos. And it has wonderful notes by the infamous Nat Hentoff, and there's a wonderful documentary about Nat Hentoff, and I highly recommend checking it out. I mean, I can't say I 100% agree with all his political views, but you know, he is really a thought-provoking writer, and I really miss liner notes like this. Sorry, didn't mean to get off on a tangent, but you know, these guys are mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. You know, I plan to do a bit on him on my Dead Wax series, but here's a shot of the Dead Wax. The RR here stands for Ron Rombach. one of the Music Matters owners. So Ron, I gotta say thank you if you just happen to ever catch this. This has just been phenomenal. I would not have these in such a great, fantastic condition if it wasn't for your efforts and the efforts of Joe Harley and also Kevin Gray and your staff. So once again, thank you. And I'm sad that things are going to end in March, so hopefully you'll find some new endeavor to jump into. But anyway, let me go into I'm going to go outside of the Music Matters, and I want to talk about the new Vinyl Me Please release for the month, which is Beck's Odelay. Now, I'm sure there's going to be several opening videos of this. This is Beck's masterpiece, or one of the masterpieces. I'm very happy that Beck, his catalog is being re-released on vinyl. I really think the music should be accessible to people in a physical format, and I'm happy this is getting a release. Now, this was mastered by Bernie Grundman. I'm hoping his mastering is going to be for Sea Change and Garo when those come out, which I think is towards the end of this month. Now, the Vinyl Me Please edition, of course, comes out on colored vinyl. This was mastered by Bernie Grundman, and it was pressed at Palace. Super West asked me, "Hey, do you know if they're going in the United States or not?" And I don't know. I mean, this has the typical PUSA in it, as I'm showing you here. I'm assuming when Furnace Manufacturing gets going, I'm sure there's going to be a video or some type of news article on it. But it's just speculation as to when they're actually going to start pressing. Now, how's the quality? So Bernie Grundman, this is not the first time he's touched this. So several years ago there was a nice 4-disc set that came out, and he also did this for ORG, and this was pressed at RTI. Now what's strange about my pressing is I think they started out with RTI, but then they moved to GZ. So here I'm showing you the GZ inscription and then the RTI inscription. Now, what sounds better? This guy or this guy? So they're both mastered by Bernie Grundman, but this one, in my opinion, sounds better. And why does it sound better? Well, this came out during the age of the CD, and there is over 50 minutes of music here. And this is a single disc version, and so the optimal time for one side of vinyl is about 17 minutes or so. So you're trying to compress 25 to 30 minutes of music on one side of an LP. So, of course, Bernie has to make some judgments, and so the dynamics suffer. I mean, it sounds good. If you don't have this LP, this is not bad sounding. But this, because they spread the signs out over different LPs, you only have 4 songs at most per side. This is far more dynamic. I wish I could play you a comparison between the two so you could see what they sound like. But YouTube is going to block me. So you can take my word for it, or you can look online to see what people think. But to my ears, because he didn't have to compress the audio, there's more dynamic range. This one is the better sounding version, even though it was pressed at GZ using RTI's metalwork. Now, the last couple that I have to show you are one jazz and one classical piece, and these are done by Analog Spark. So originally I was thinking Analog Spark was solely a Barnes & Noble thing, but I'm incorrect on that. So this guy came out, and I was curious, so I had an original. I saw this cheaply through the Music Direct website, and I had to go for it. So lo and behold, I get it, and here I see this guy. It's Analog Spark. So I guess they have some Barnes & Noble exclusives, but this was available through Music Direct. And if you haven't heard this album, it's phenomenal. It's outstanding. What I like about Analog Spark is that they paid homage to the original label. Now, who pressed it? RTI. They've been using RTI. Who did the mastering? Kevin Gray, as I'm showing you here. So this just sounds fantastic. And I do happen to have a stereo second press. Here's a shot of the label here, and there's a little more gloss on the cover, but you can see that they did a really good job. They're both, you know, of course, at the time, you know, this is how the jackets were made, but this is also done on a Stoughton jacket. Kevin Gray did a fantastic job. So if you don't have this album, if you like Monk, if you like Blakey, I gotta say, go for this one. Now, the last one I gotta show you is also Analog Spark. I did get this from Barnes & Noble, and this is Leonard Bernstein. This is him doing Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue, and American in Paris. So these pieces often go together on classical works. So in my Dead Wax series, I comment about master tapes and, you know, the way the labels are. So, you know, East Coast labels are not going to let their tapes, their precious tapes, fly over to the West Coast necessarily, and, you know, these premium reissuers have to pay some insurance. Like Music Matters, they were paying $1 million per tape in insurance just to, you know, utilize them. So very much the same thing. Like these labels will say, okay, you can use the tape, but you got to keep it near our facility. And so Kevin Gray didn't master this one. This was done by Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound, as I'm showing you here. And again, mastered or pressed at RTI, done with the Stoughton jacket, and it sounds fantastic. This is really kind of an audiophile darling, a classical darling. People know these pieces quite well. But I gotta say, if you happen to see this at Barnes & Noble and, you know, you like Gershwin, I mean, Rhapsody in Blue, I mean, United co-opted the music for their commercials. United Airlines, that is. But yeah, don't hesitate to pick this up. Even if you see it in the used bins. I've never seen this one in the used bins. I see a lot of Leonard Bernstein. If I see Leonard Bernstein, I pick it up. But this is fantastic. So, thoughts, comments, they're always appreciated. Thank you if you stuck with me this far, and have a great week.